Hello and welcome to the Eco-Batcha channel. Air quality continues to make headlines both in Pakistan and internationally. Last week, the WHO, the World Health Organization, announced that nearly 90% of all children around the world are exposed to dangerous levels of pollution. To find out more, Eco-Batcha was lucky enough to meet Abid Omar, the founder of Pakistan Air Quality Initiative. Abid was in Lahore last week and I got a chance to talk to him about air pollution, smog, and what we can do to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Again, thank you for joining us, and I'm going to begin with the questions. So, could you briefly explain the phenomenon of smog for viewers that are unaware of it?
Smog is a big issue in Punjab, and it's particularly a problem because of this phenomena that we call temperature inversion, where the cold air gets trapped under a blanket of warm air of this high pressure zone, and which doesn't let any of the pollutants naturally to escape into the atmosphere. So we're generating pollution the year round. It's just that in the winter months, it all gets trapped here. It has no place to escape. And on top of that, we have crop residue burning. We have a lot of brick kilns in Punjab, and these all contribute towards the hazardous levels of smog that we see these days.
Are there any measures that we can take to protect ourselves from it?
The number one measure that we can take, I feel, is to talk about it. That we have to spread awareness. Until recently, nobody knew that smog was an issue in Lahore. No one was talking about it. So that's the main thing. Talk to your friends, talk to your families, talk to your schools. Let people know that smog is an issue. And why should we talk about smog? Is because it's not just an issue of visibility. It's a big health issue. It leads to respiratory issues, cardiovascular diseases, even cancer, genetic illnesses. So once we start talking about it, people will start becoming aware. And with that awareness, they're going to start approaching the local government, the authorities, to do something about it. In Pakistan, the awareness isn't really there yet for any action to happen.
What are some of the major pollutants that contribute to the smog?
You're one of the major pollutants, and me, our lifestyles, the fact that we drive around in cars, we live in houses with air conditioning, we run generators, we consume a lot of energy. Besides all of that, there's also transportation, whether it's your car, your rickshaw, motorcycle, public transportation. It's how we generate energy. We have new coal power plants coming up in Pakistan. We have industrial emissions all around Lahore. You have cement factories, you have steel re-rolling mills. So it's actually everything that has to do with modern life is generating air pollution.
So you were talking about the pollutants earlier. So is there any list of it?
Well, the list of pollutants is so enormous because it's everything that is you're emitting in the air. It could be trace metals of aluminum, of magnesium, of arsenic. It's also gaseous emissions such as ammonium dioxide from agriculture, from industrial emissions include nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide. So there's so many, like the list is endless. It's like looking at a periodic table. Everything that's on the periodic table is out there in the atmosphere. And it's there naturally. It only becomes a problem when the concentrations of it are so high, which is what you find in urban areas. In fact, Lahore is not alone with this problem. 9 out of 10 people worldwide live in environments which are polluted.
You often talk about particulate matter. Could you tell us more about it?
I like particulate matter because it's representative of air pollution as a whole. You're not measuring any one thing, you're measuring all of them with particulate matter. What we're looking at is PM 2.5, which is particles about 30 times smaller than human hair, which is very, very, very tiny. And you can't see that with the naked eye. In fact, that's even smaller in size in viruses and bacteria. That's how small it is. So some people have a misconception that when we talk about particulate matter, because of the word particle, they're imagining it's dust. But at that size, you're on the molecular level, so you're also including all the gases that I mentioned earlier, gases, aerosols, so solids and liquids in the air. All of these come together, form an even more complex mixture. They react with each other, and that is what is primarily considered the pollutant of interest when you're talking about air pollution.
Do you think smog is a preventable issue, and what measures should we take to try and prevent it?
There are models from around the world that we can see how smog and air pollution has been addressed in other parts of the world. The United States had a smog issue in LA in the 1970s. It took them a few decades to clean that up. In Europe, in Germany, the Netherlands, they actually formed a political party called the Green Party, where environment was one of the key things on the agenda. That too was triggered by air pollution, because it's a form of pollution that you can't escape from. More recently in China, they have started cleaning up the environment again because of air pollution. So there are ways, and the way is that you have to go to each source of the pollution and start finding a way to reduce it at that source. So if it's a coal power plant, find that's not as clean as having solar energy, but you can still have clean, not clean coal, but cleaner coal. Like you can put in scrubbers in the chimneys and prevent most of the pollution from coming out. And similarly, when you talk about, let's say, brick kilns in Lahore, there exist alternative ways of making bricks which are not polluting. So, but it's a big issue. It's not something that can be addressed overnight. When you talk on this scale, it's going to take years, if not decades, to address air pollution at the various sources.
Have you read the government's smog action plan? How would you rate it?
The smog action plan that came out by the Smog Commission.
Yes.
I was actually part of that. And the document is kind of okay, but it's not very comprehensive because there are very few experts that are involved in putting together that document. In fact, most of the people on board on the Smog Commission were lawyers, and you actually don't need lawyers to make an action plan. You need policymakers, you need health practitioners, you need environmental experts, air pollution experts. So besides myself and Dr. Tariq Banouri, who's was previously in the climate change ministry, there was no doctor, there was no environmentalist, there was no one else. So it wasn't comprehensive enough. And you need to really have a lot of experts sit together, not for a couple of weeks, but this is a project that's going to last many months. You need to involve many institutions, universities, researchers. You need to reach out to get international guidance as well, and then we can have a proper smog action plan. I'd like to add a bit more about that. The smog action plan did say that if the air quality index crosses 300, then an emergency should be declared. That part I agree with, that yes, smog is a public health emergency in Pakistan, but unfortunately the mechanisms don't exist to implement the measures that were laid out. For example, schools should be closed during levels of high smog.
You brought these lovely masks. Could you explain a bit about them?
Yes, so when we are talking about what people can do as individuals, that is something that we haven't really gone into detail about, but one of the measures that you can do is limit outdoor activities on polluted days. If you have to be outdoors, if you do have to go to school, then wear a PM 2.5 mask, which is rated for filtering out 99% of PM 2.5. So it's called an N95 rating. I even say that something is better than nothing. So you don't even have to have a mask. You can just have a handkerchief. That'll block out like 30-40% of the particles. You can have a surgical mask. Even that works. But if you can get your hold on such a N95 rated mask, then you're blocking out about 99% of the particulate matter. But the issue with a lot of the masks is that they don't fit your face well. the masks that you get are designed for industrial workers because, you know, in most of the world where all these things are happening, they don't have such a big air pollution issue. So in industries where you're generating dust for whatever reason, workers are wearing those masks. So those are designed for a much bigger adult face. For children, you need a smaller size mask. So here we have some from AQ Blue, which come in multiple sizes. So you can choose one that fits your face size, because unless if the seal of the mask around your face is not good enough, you're not filtering out the pollutants.
Well, you'd also brought an air purifier, could you?
Yes, so we have an air purifier, and this is to show you how simple air purifiers are. This one is from Smart Air, and that's a company with an amazing social mission. They're like, why should we go out there and spend tens of thousands of rupees, or like a lot of air purifier costs like thousands of dollars. They're like, it's literally just a fan, very simple fan. And a bigger air purifier essentially means a bigger fan. Here's the second element of it. It's a filter. Similarly to the dust mask, the filter needs to be of a certain standard so it can filter out pollutants. And you simply place this filter in front of the fan, and this company provides all of those things. And if you turn it on, it's going to be very noisy. That's on high. And so right now in this room, it's about 236. It's a bit hard to see this on the screen. Outdoors, it's about 300 plus. The indoor air tends to be a little bit better because you don't have as many pollutants inside. And we'll wait a minute for the numbers to come down. We can talk about other stuff too. You sit back. I'm going to turn it off. So we were just demonstrating the effectiveness of this air purifier, and we just saw in the room the figure went from 230 to 4. So that's pretty remarkable what an air purifier can do. I'm going to turn this off and put this back down. And yeah, so one of the measures you can take, you have a mask. When you're outdoors, you have an air purifier. When you're indoors, in fact, in a school, every classroom should have an air purifier. That is what happens in cities like New Delhi and Beijing, and guess what? Our air pollution is way worse than those places. We're similar to New Delhi. So if you go to a good school and you want to protect your children over there, you need to make sure that they have clean air. Like some schools I know even made like their whole outdoor sports areas covered, and they put a purification system, because young kids are exceptionally susceptible to the impacts of polluted air. Like, you're going to live 5 years shorter than you would have had you lived elsewhere from being in Lahore.
But you have also mentioned AQI quite a bit, and even on this poster you have mentioned that one should understand the AQI index for your health. But usually when I talk about AQI in my school, my friends tend to get incredibly confused. So could you briefly explain that?
Exactly. Like, one's eyes glaze over when you talk about all these numbers. The AQI indexes helps to simplify the pollution in the air. So actually we talk about, this is the concentration, like in terms of the weight of the particles, we say micrograms per cubic meter of air. Again, that's very difficult to digest. So they say that instead of looking at that, why don't we just talk about the health effects, which is what the air quality index essentially says. That it says don't bother if the number is 0 or 50 or 500. It's more like, look if the number is good, or is it moderate, or is it unhealthy, or is it hazardous. So just look at the reading coming out as a result of that measurement.
Thank you for joining us. That was my last question. And
thank you so much for having me. What's the show called?
Eco-Batcha.
Eco-Batcha. Thank you so much for having me on Eco-Batcha.
I hope you enjoyed the video, and a special thanks to Abid Omar for coming. Please do look for the Pakistan Air Quality Initiative page on Facebook and Twitter. Links are in the description. And subscribe for more Eco-Batcha.